I try to stay away from making videos like this because it's not directly related to video games, but this hits really close to home, and I want to talk about it because the way some larger YouTubers are talking about it is really bothering me. So what am I talking about? Well, recently YouTube posted their new policy that will be put into effect on the 20th of February. According to YouTube's new policy, if you want to monetize your videos on YouTube, your channel needs to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of view time within the last 12 months from this coming February. Otherwise, your channel will be demonetized until you can hit those numbers. As you might imagine, this will hit a massive amount of smaller channels with the goal of, at least specifically according to YouTube, hitting channels that impersonate, spam, or post copyrighted material. So people that upload entire movies to YouTube that don't get hit by copyright police, despite getting a lot of views, won't make a dime off them if their channel doesn't have more than 1,000 subscribers as well. Another example would be channels that repost and monetize videos that are posted by bigger YouTubers. Now, this all seems great, however, those issues are just a drop in the bucket in the grand scheme of things. It just sucks to see those channels do well and profit for breaking the rules while other channels, like mine, that follow them are constantly scrutinized and punished for no reason. It's really more of an image issue. Furthermore, and most importantly, YouTube is practically breaking down the house in order to rebuild the door. So many other smaller channels that are just trying to work towards a bit of cash are going to be denied for AdSense, and that's what I really want to get into today. Now, to be fair, when you get into the numbers, the ad revenue from these channels that are under the mark for the new policy don't make that much money anyway. I'm talking a few dollars at most a month. Maybe a little bit more if you're a little bit more popular. Advertising on YouTube works in a very, very specific way. Basically, advertisers bid to put their ads on videos. Big companies have a history of advertising across pretty much all channels with small and large amounts of views, and now it's all about watch time. But I remember years ago when I experimented with ads on my videos, I had one video that had less than 100 views on it, but it got ads for Diablo 3, which was a pretty big video game release for that year. Now, back then, videos with ads that racked in a few hundred views were basically worth pennies. So if you got like 100 views on your video, you would get like a dime maybe. But if you were to put that ad on a video with 100,000 views, it would equate to a couple $100 actually. Making money back then was, you know, on YouTube it was a lot more profitable than now, because now it's all about watch time rather than view count. But this is all history now. My point is that a lot has changed with YouTube over the years, and people have been migrating away because the money's been drying up, especially with the recent adpocalypse, and it looks like people are just starting to blame smaller YouTubers and their ways of making money and how they present themselves and their content, rather than YouTube itself. I know I'm dancing around the topic here, but I want to really just give you an inkling of why I think that YouTube's policy is a bad idea, and elaborate that there is a history with YouTube and it being deceptive, and people should not immediately jump on smaller channels and think they are the ones causing all these issues. So, just in a nutshell, people who could pay bills and do YouTube as a full-time or part-time job a few years ago are now looking to places like Patreon to fill the money hole that YouTube has left behind over the past 3 to 4 years, as the YouTube gravy train has been on a steady decline. Even before the adpocalypse, it was going downhill with payouts to channels in a big way. What I'm hoping for is that advertisers will keep the exact same marketing budgets for YouTube, or even a little bit more, and take the money that they were spending to bid on the smaller channels, the millions of those, and redistributing it to help out the bigger middle-class YouTube channels. Not the giant ones. Those really couldn't care less if they're making $100 extra a month and they're pulling in 6 figures a year. But for someone like me who makes, can't really reveal it, but I'll say a couple hundred, $100 extra a month is a pretty big deal, and that's really $1,200 a year. That's potentially amazing. That is like a lot of money to most people. That's a car payment, that's food on the table, that's more money you can invest into camera equipment, into a better processor for your computer to render or stream videos. There's a lot you can do with that money, so I hope practically that happens. Yes, it is a big cost to axe off a lot of YouTube channels, but I can see that being, you know, for the greater good. But until I see my revenue shoot up outside of November and December, which are big months for YouTubers because of the holidays, I am not okay with this at all. And I am especially not okay with larger YouTubers pretending to be all humble and caring while supporting this awful policy. It's like these bigger creators think all the revenue problems they've been having with YouTube over the past 3 years are because of these smaller channels that upload copyrighted material or just edgy shit. Channels like Review Tech USA and H3H3 have tweeted or made videos about how it's a good thing that YouTube is changing its policy to be something very vague, and they really don't cite any facts or evidence to their claims of how this new policy, this is going to be the one, guys, that's going to help content creators. It's just really at least fixing the image problem YouTube has with its user base and vice versa. That's really all it's doing. The ad thing that I mentioned with the advertisers, that's a potentially good thing, but they're not even talking about that. And again, that's all in theory. And this is not even getting into the theories people have about the policy being a lot more nefarious. Some people think it's a step to start censoring more people on YouTube, and I don't doubt that claim at all. When did these YouTubers who started from nothing just like everyone else and were our only loud voices of criticism against the site, when did they suddenly decide to become mouthpieces for YouTube and trust them? These people who have said YouTube will mislead you, that YouTube has double standards, and even outright lies to you. Now these people are suddenly believing and telling us that these policy changes are actually really, really great, and it's totally going to fix the site, or at least part of it. All I hear are vague statements like violators, offenders, that lead to blanket actions, instead of hearing a solid explanation as to how this will fix anything worth mentioning. The adpocalypse is not happening because of hate speech or wrongthink from smaller channels. It's happening because companies like Verizon and AT&T, YouTube's biggest advertisers, are trying to make their own platforms to compete with YouTube as a streaming service. They are getting a lot of money together to put towards those projects, and that's why the advertisement revenue has dropped significantly. It's become less about smaller groups and individuals and more about promoting and curating network and cable TV garbage. So other companies are competing with them, and TV networks are cleaner to deal with because they have protocols and filters for a wider audience compared to a random, smaller channel on YouTube, which YouTube used to be all about. Now it's just Jimmy Kimmel on the front page about some random bullshit about Trump. I fucking hate what YouTube has become. It's all about the corporations now. It's not about the small guys, and this fucking policy just pushes that to the forefront. But going back to the bigger YouTubers, I have this to say to you. Please stop. You are clearly misinformed or underinformed about this topic, just like you were with net neutrality and the adpocalypse. Smaller content creators aren't destroying your channel or hurting your livelihood. Let me just push that through. Advertisers and YouTube's policies are doing that. Furthermore, if a channel is reposting stolen or copyrighted material and they still get tons of views and subscribers for it, then nothing is going to happen to them. So what's the point? So you're just axing off a bunch of other YouTubers, and you've effectively done nothing in that regard. If they still get the subscribers, everyone's now just going to sub for each other. Everyone's going to try to rely on bots or some other way to exploit the system to get their AdSense back. Now, for those who still say that it's not a big deal, that some of these channels might lose a couple bucks and that's nothing, let me tell you something. One of the proudest days of my life, this is how sad and pathetic I am, one of the proudest days of my life was when I became eligible for monetization on YouTube, because I really wanted to be like all these other YouTube creators that I looked at. You know, I looked at Review Tech USA and I'm like, oh my god, I want to do exactly what he does, or I want to do something like that. And even though I made next to nothing at one point, I was still happy to see a few bucks coming in. I still have that acceptance letter for monetization that Google sent me years ago because it was such a big deal for me. I shit you not, I was more excited to get that letter for monetization for my shitty videos on YouTube than I was when I got a $1,000 scholarship for a college I really wanted to go to. It's insane looking back. Something like that, no matter how small, can spur people to continue creating content. Everyone keeps saying, oh, well, you shouldn't have gotten into YouTube to make money anyway. Most of these people don't do YouTube just for the money, but to see a few bucks, just a few, in their account gives them that little spark of hope that shows them that somewhere, something, the system somewhere is working. Something is happening that is rewarding their hard work, even if it's small. I honest to God can't understand why bigger YouTubers, whom I like, do not understand this despite coming from almost nothing. It bugs the shit out of me. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed me screaming like a child. I just get really frustrated when my icons, my role models, tell me that the reason why YouTube's policies are a good thing is so that we can suffer with them, which is stupid because that implies that we're not suffering more than they did when they started YouTube. Some food for thought, YouTube didn't used to constantly fix their trending page. They didn't constantly fix their subscription boxes or anything like that, or, censor or demote controversial quote-unquote topics. They do it now a lot. They didn't do it a lot back then, though. And that's when a lot of these people got popular and famous, because they were edgy. Because they said things that we wanted to hear that no one else wanted them to say. Just keep that in mind. And bigger YouTubers, keep that in mind too, because that's where you came from. That's how you became famous. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Sub for sub, like for like. I'm out.